Hey everyone, it's Monday. That means it's time for yet another weekly draft video. I am doing some shadows over Innistrad. Unfortunately, I am actually currently out of town. I'm recording this well in advance, and I will not be able to record, most likely anyway, any Eternal Masters. So I'm just doing shadows over Innistrad for these 3 weeks. Unfortunately, I wish I could be playing shadows, rather Eternal Masters as well, but I'm traveling and don't have consistent internet or anything like that, so it just isn't going to happen. But I don't want to miss any Mondays with my weekly draft videos, so this is what we're doing. I'll see you guys when the pack opens. Okay, so Eerie Interlude is not really the kind of rare that you really want. I guess I could see a world where you end up with a deck that actually has a lot of Enter the Battlefield triggers, like this Valdaran Duelist, and it's not bad there. But and Thraben Inspector too. But yeah, and Obsessive Skinner. There are several good cards that have Enter the Battlefield abilities, but you still need a lot of them to make that work. It is a fun card for Constructed. So this pack doesn't have any really good removal or any at all actually. So usually that's what I like to first pick, but we don't have that choice here. So I think it's either Obsessive Skinner, who's quite good in any deck. He's a 2-mana 2/2 at worst, but he can also move a +1/+1 counter to, say, a flyer, and then when you get Delirium, he gets obnoxious. But there's also an Ulvenwald Mysteries, which is a super good card in any deck that happens to have green in it. It's just a creature token engine, and that's something I like a lot. So I think it's one of those two cards. Duelist is also good. Probably the third or fourth best card with Thraben Inspector in there too. I think I'm going to take the Mysteries, see if we can make that work. I think it's pretty strong deck where you can play Ulvenwald Mysteries and make a lot of human tokens and stuff. So there's a Vessel of Nascency here, so we could kind of go into a Delirium deck. This pack also does not have any removal. Has an overly expensive creature that does have a big impact on the game. It's worth saying, but Stitch Mangler is nice. We have another Valdaran Duelist who's also nice, but I think I'm leaning towards the Vessel here. This pack is generally not that exciting, and if we can stay green, I think we should, and the Vessel's good enough for me to pick it here, so I shall. Well, and there's Crawling Sensation, so the world may be telling us to. I did this a few weeks ago when I recorded it anyway. I'm not exactly sure when it'll be up, but you'll have seen it before this video. I had a deck that had Crawling Sensation and Ulvenwald Mysteries that was pretty sweet, and that's what I think I'm going to do here. We already have one good card with Delirium, and we have another one here, and this is a sweet engine card no matter what. Green-white's probably the best place to go with this deck because it gives us mass board pumping spells. Wildfield Scarecrow is a card I wouldn't mind getting either, but we're going to take Crawling Sensation here and see if we can get there. We want any Epitaph Golems we see at this point. All right, here I think we just take Byway Courier, continuing to stay open in green. The other cards here aren't that great, and I think Byway Courier is probably the best card in this pack, although I do like True Faith Censor and Drew Now Corpse Trawler and Pale Rider and Ghoul Call. Most of the cards are playable, but I like just staying green here. Because it's just been really open. So here we could take a black removal spell. We could take a decent green card in the Provisioner. We do have one human so far, and these are humans. But I think I'm actually going to take Throttle here, the removal spell. Black-green is a good place to be, generally speaking. And if you want to be doing Delirium, that is. So I think that's what we take. At this point, we don't actually have any huge Delirium payoffs. So, we could actually take white cards instead. But I think the removal is solid enough that we take that here instead. And maybe we change our mind on a later pack. So we could just take the solid Quilled Wolf here. Or we could take the Rancid Rats, which I think is probably better. So I think we probably take Rancid Rats. Spiteful Motives is solid. Dual Shot's solid. And Quilled Wolf and Rancid Rats are both good too. But I think we take the Rats. Yeah, I think that's where we're going to go here. Okay, well, I like Uninvited Geist. Seeing it here this late's kind of interesting. There's no cards here that are really going to be great in our deck. There's a decent sideboard card, but I think there's some chance we end up playing blue, so I think I take the Geist here. This is a card that pumps everything, and we do have two creature engines, so it's worth looking at. These are both good red cards, even though they cost 5. There's also a catalog, which is good. Works well with Delirium as well. Because black's not looking super open or anything. So do we want catalog, or do we want a white card? I think I'm going to take catalog and see what happens there. Yeah, Wicker Witch is fine. I could also take Loam Dryad. It would let me splash. Wicker Witch is halfway to Delirium if it gets milled or trades with something, which is good. But we don't actually have huge Delirium payoff yet, so I think I will actually take the Dryad and see if that's what we want to be doing. Now I will take a Guidance. Aim High or Vampire Noble? I think I'll take the Dude. We need dudes for our Crawling Sensation to be at its best. We'll take a Trawler now. Let's sort by color here, because it's not entirely clear where we're going to end up. There's a card with Delirium, but it's not one I like a whole lot. So that was kind of a weird first pack. Well, Delirium it is, right? There's a big Delirium payoff here. It's also a very strong white card and a good black card in Deadweight. But I'm tempted to take the Soul Swallower. This pack's really strong for us in general. Wouldn't mind getting back Kessig Dire Swine. But I like the Soul Swallower more. I also like the Provisioner, the Hunter. I could kind of see taking the Chaplain or the Deadweight over the Swallower, but we're going to go for the Swallower here. Puncturing Light, Sleep Paralysis. This pack has a lot of good removal and high-quality cards, so there's a decent chance this Dire Swine gets back to us. There's a Graph Mole. It's not completely useless in our deck. Let's go back to this. There's a Fiery Temper. So Thraben Gargoyle does get you halfway to Delirium, but we have a couple ways of making clues already, and this is just a decent 3-drop anyway at 2/4, so I think it's what we take. We could also take Asylum Visitor, who is pretty good. But the question is our deck going to be one that's like aggressive enough that it wants a 2-mana 3/1? I'm not sure what the answer to that is. And I'm also not certain I'm playing black at this point either. I'm pretty sure I'm playing green. So let's take the green card. Veteran Cathar, we're going to end up with a few humans in this deck, but we're not guaranteed to play white. So, yeah, I'll take the Graph Mole here. All right, I like the Skinner. I think that's probably what I take here. Let's look around a little more. Yep, that's what I take here. The Waltz isn't bad in a Delirium deck, but Skinner's really good. And I think that's what I take. I also don't mind, if that came back. It's a nice card to mill because it can get my whole team flying. But this is a Delirium payoff, a good one. And I think we want those. Crawling Sensation number 2. And here's a reason to be black with Delirium, and that's Crow of Dark Tidings. Crawling Sensation doesn't get a whole lot better in multiples, in my experience. It is a little better because you get 2 insects every time you mill something. But I'm not sure we want 2, although it does increase our chances of drawing it. I think I might just rather have this Crow, which might solidify us into black officially. The Crow works well also with Crawling Sensation because if it puts lands into my graveyard, that matters too. So that's what we're going to take here. This is a card I wouldn't mind getting, the Ghoul Caller's Accomplice, because it does stuff from the graveyard as well. But we'll take the black card here. Speaking of things from the graveyard, though, geez. Just when I thought I'd solidified myself into black, I freaking get a Geralf's Masterpiece. Really? If he gets milled, he's really good. I mean, if you play him, even if you hard cast him, he's usually going to be a decent size. I've had success with him in the past and been pretty pleased with him. Quilled Wolf is solid. Clipwing's a good sideboard card. Firebog Revenant, not something I would mind running if I'm going to run in black, but I think this is too strong of a card not to grab it here. So that's what we'll do. And here's Epitaph Golem. I think that's the card we want in this pack, even though it has Deadweight and Stitchwing Scob in it as well. Epitaph Golem can really make this deck come together. And now if that second Crawling Sensation comes back, I think we just take it. We do need to pick up stuff like Macabre Waltz. But let's see what happens here. Ooh, Concoction, yes please. Removal spell, helps with Delirium. If we get stuff with Madness, it's good. I think I take that over anything else in this pack. Ghoul Steed. There's a black card that's actually good from the graveyard. I think that's probably what we take. Since if we mill it, we can get it back. We could have taken one of those lands, and this Dire Swine came back, which is good. And so did this Thraben Gargoyle, which I will happily take. Alright, well. We do need Macabre Waltz and stuff like that, so that if we mill our Epitaph Golem, we can get it back. Multiple Epitaph Golems would be good, too. I'll take this skill for my sideboard. Crawling Sensation number 2. There we go. We're getting there. We have only 2 cards with Delirium right now, but we do have cards that have payoffs if they're in our graveyard, like Ghoul Steed, and things like that. I'll take this. Maybe we play blue. Probably I'm not playing that card, although it does put cards in your graveyard. But I still don't think it's what we want. So we have the capacity to splash. The problem is, I mean, maybe the Geist, but problem is Grolf's Masterpiece costs double blue. Now if he gets milled, he only costs 1 blue, but I don't know. More cards with Delirium and Macabre Waltz is basically what we'd like to see here. Okay, there's a decent 2-drop, I guess. The rest of this pack's kind of lacking. Scavenger is fine. We wouldn't mind more Vessels, incidentally, but we do have double Crawling Sensation, so getting Delirium shouldn't be super hard. Yeah, the Scavenger and the Bloodsworn are probably what we're choosing between here. I like Stitch Mangler. I also like Hinterland Logger. It may just be better to take the Logger. I mean, the Scavenger, yes, it has Delirium, but the Logger is better, like when our Delirium game isn't coming together, than the Scavenger is. And we can probably end up wheeling a Scavenger. And Bloodsworn's okay. We do have one other Vampire, but we're not going to be splashing red. Although I guess our Loam Dryad can kind of let us splash whatever we want. But I'm going to take the Logger here, I think. Yeah, that's where we're going to go. Ooh. Well, we can splash blue for that. I think it's probably worth it. There's a Twins and a Stallion, which are both fine. But the rest of this pack, not overly exciting. Would not mind a Watcher, but I think we probably want Altered Ego, and I think we probably try and splash blue for it. It's strong enough to warrant that, I think. What's happening to us here? We're really getting our cards taken from us now. Not even like any fixing here, which would be nice. Like another Loam Dryad I would take right now that we're playing Altered Ego. I guess we just take the Apparatus. It gives us a removal spell. We don't have a ton of removal. The Quarry doesn't help us do anything. Compelling Deterrence and Stone Rider Spirit are good, of course, but I don't think we want to be playing a bunch of blue cards. So I'm just going to take the Apparatus. The green cards here are non-existent. And the black cards here, there's a good sideboard card, but that's it. So it kind of seems like someone to our right is now also in black-red, based on what seems to be happening to us. Now, this can help us splash our Altered Ego, but what are we giving up? We're giving up decent 2-drops, but I think it's probably worth it. I think it's probably worth it for splashing our Altered Ego. Yeah, yep. It's a strong enough card that I think we want to get it into our deck. And now we'll probably take a Warped Landscape to sort of... we'd rather have Fork in the Road in our Delirium deck, wouldn't we? Yeah, we would. So that's what we'll do. We'll take the Fork. Okay. Now we'll take another Logger. So we don't have huge Delirium payoffs, like I said, but we have the Epitaph Golem Crawling Sensation combo. There's also a Macabre Waltz here, so maybe I should take that since it will enable me to get back my Epitaph Golem if it gets milled. Now, if they both get milled, then that's just a sad state. But we can stop milling ourselves if that happens because Sensation doesn't, make you mill yourself or anything. Yeah, I think I am going to take the Waltz. It's a card we kind of need to complete this Epitaph Golem thing. Okay, well, here's a good Delirium payoff. Here's a good Delirium enabler, and here's a card we want in general. But I think we probably take Tooth Collector. It's just, he kills things pretty frequently in this format. There's lots of X1s. See these 3 cards, for example. I like the Crow a lot, but I think we can probably get there on Delirium pretty easily without taking another Crow, so I'll take a Tooth Collector. Well, Stitchwing Scob and Confront the Unknown are both decent in our deck, but do we really want to be playing another blue card with like 2 blue sources? Sort of 3, because we'll play Fork in the Road. We'll play 1 Island and Woodland Stream. That's a good question. We don't want the Stoic Builder. Get out of here. Dang. Wicker. I think the Scob just has way more upside, so I'm going to take it. Whether we may not be able to play it, but that's what I'm going to do. Shamble back is not terrible since we can mill ourselves, and it's also not terrible against people who are other people trying to get Delirium. Probably goes to our sideboard, but that's okay. Stallion, I don't mind taking here. I think I like it more than Aim High, though we are a little low on removal. We have our Concoction and our Apparatus and a Throttle. That's about it. But I think taking a decent 4-drop who likes Delirium is probably a good plan. And now we'll take a Vessel, which is a decent sideboard card. And we'll take this. It isn't a color we're playing, I guess. I don't know if we want Vampire Noble anymore. Probably not. Yeah, black ended up not being super open, sadly. But I think that's okay. I think our deck's pretty sweet anyway. Altered Ego is pretty nice. And so is Double Crawling Sensation with Ulvenwald Mysteries. We only end up with a few ways of making clues, but this thing's fail case is still pretty good, and if we're making clues at all, it's going to be hard for our opponent to kill us. So we also have Loam Dryad to help us splash blue, it's worth noting. So maybe the Scob could come in. Maybe. Yeah, we don't want 2 of those in our deck, I don't think. I don't think there's anything I want to cut for it. So we could think about running Stitchwing Scob. We didn't end up with any Madness, so it's a little less good, but it is a card that can be milled that can come back from your graveyard. And that's something I think our deck wants. So, seems like a decent plan. At least we're thinking about trying to splash the Scob with our Altered Ego. Gralt's Masterpiece is just, I think, going to be too expensive for us. Too hard for us with double blue. I mean, we have a few discard outlets, but if he's in our hand, there's a lot of scenarios where we just end up never being able to cast him, as sweet as he is. So, Woodland Stream. We have our Woodland Stream, and we have our Fork in the Road, and we have our Loam Dryad. I think that's enough to splash 2 blue cards if we want to, especially one that gets milled, and one that's really strong. So we only end up with 1 Vessel, which is kind of sad. We're going to be really leaning on our Crawling Sensations to get us Delirium, I think. We also have Fork in the Road to help us get there. Where did that go, though? Don't we have a Fork in the Road somewhere? Oh, I dragged it over there, apparently. Yeah, I was looking at fixing. Yeah, Fork of the Road. Grafmole stays in. Stallion's probably worth thinking about cutting. He's one of our weaker cards. He's fine, but I've never really been super impressed with him. I think the Scob is probably better, even though it's in a 3rd color. But we only need to get 1 blue to play him. Which Stoic Builder is kind of worth thinking about running, because in a world where we mill our 1 blue mana, or 1 island or something, being able to get it back is nice. So he's worth thinking about, since we're playing Altered Ego and Stitchwing Scob. And it's any land, so it could also be our Woodland Stream. So, I don't know. It's probably safer to just lose our Scob and just run the Altered Ego. and cut the Stallion, and that's probably the best thing to do, like mana-wise. Oh, it is sorted. This just has a weird mana cost. We only have 1/4, which is kind of strange, but that's fine, I think. But I like the look of our deck. I wouldn't have minded getting some more removal or like a second vessel, but what we have will get us to Delirium decently enough. And we got the nice Epitaph Golem Crawling Sensation combo, which makes it so you can just like set up, draw whatever you want to every turn, like draw Throttle every turn or Sinister Concoction every turn, things like that, which is pretty sweet. All right, so I think this is our deck. I can definitely see a case to be made for splashing for the Scob, especially because we don't have like any flyers other than Crow of Dark Tidings, and it may be worth siding in against an opponent who has a lot of flyers just because it can block and come back over and over again. So I'm going to keep it in mind, and like I said, I could even see an argument to run him since we're going to be milling ourselves a decent amount, but I'm not going to. It's just hard to decide what to cut. And simplifying your mana base is usually a good place to think about cutting. Making you feel more confident about your mana is usually a good place to start cutting. So, all right. So yeah, we want 1 island for sure. I think we want more than 5 swamps though. Do we want 6 swamps? Probably want more than that even. I think this gives us 9 green sources, 2 blue sources, and 7 black sources. I think that's probably enough. We do have Fork in the Road, Loam Dryad to help us find whatever we need. We run the 1 island basically because we're running Fork in the Road. All right, well, this seems like a pretty sweet Delirium deck. We did get Epitaph Golem, which is kind of the dream, so we'll see how it does. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.